My name is Mark Nussbaum. I am with the Better Way Group. Thank you for joining me here today on this video shoot. It's a third video in a series called The Quarantine Leader. In this unprecedented time here in the United States with lockdowns and quarantines in full effect, there's an abundance of time that most of us have that we can use, and we're either going to use it well or we're not. And so this video is intended to help all of us who end up with an abundance of time on our hands to become better and to do better in life. So here at the Better Way Group, we really believe that organizations can be better and can do better. We believe individuals and leaders can do the same. And so as we begin here, this third video on that we're talking about is the power of promise. The power of promise is an underrated and yet enormously powerful tool that's designed really to help you catapult where you want to go in life. The power of promise is a revolutionary thing. It allows you to use a resource, which is a promise, to actually make and keep those promises to yourself. And so we'll talk about some details about how we do that. But just to kind of talk about what promises actually are, they're IOUs. They're promises that you make. When you go to a bank and you are approved for a loan, the banker looks you in the eye and says to you, well, look, I promise we're going to hand you money, but you are expected to pay back the loan in these number of periodic payments. And as long as you are making those payments, you become trustworthy to the bank. You become believable to the bank. You're someone they will want to partner with for many more ventures in the future. And so you become someone who now is able to handle keeping a promise. And so that's an IOU. Well, in the same way, promises are IOUs that you make to yourself. When you say, I promise I'm going to do that tomorrow at this time, then you have a choice. You can do what you promised tomorrow at that time, or you may not. If you do what you say you promised that you were going to do, some good things begin to happen. Number one, you become believable to yourself. You become trustworthy. To whom? To yourself. You become more confident. Yes, I kept the promise. To who? To myself. And so you become someone who is better. Your character begins to become shaped in ways that it wouldn't have been shaped if you didn't keep that promise. Now, what happens if you don't keep a promise? What if you don't keep your promises that you make, that you had, for example, tomorrow at that specified time? When you don't keep that promise, you become weaker. You lose something about yourself. In large part, not only do you become weaker and lose something about yourself, but you end up in a place where you don't believe what you're even saying anymore. And so why even say anything that you plan to do? And that's the problem with not keeping promises. It's a devastating outcome. Promises are intended to be a very sacred thing that you make and you keep. And it shows that you become more confident about where you're going. And it energizes you to become more and to become better when you keep those promises that you make. So not only is the power of promise an unbelievable tool, it's basically inexpensive. It costs you nothing except a focused mind to say, yes, I'm going to do that. And you write it down and you do it. And then you check mark it off that you've done it. I'd like to give you a step-by-step guide to help you foster an environment, a culture where you actually become not only a promise maker, but a really, really effective promise keeper. And we'll start with 3 basic steps. The first step begins with, number 1, start small. Don't say, I'm going to promise to go to law school. That's too big a promise. That's too big to handle if you aren't used to making promises and keeping them. So you start really small. Start with, I'm going to brush my teeth by 8:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. Why? Well, because I think that anybody that is worth anything should be up and out of their room by 8:30 a.m. every day, having brushed their teeth and being prepared for the day. You believe that? Then you have to follow through with what you said. So start small, start little, and then keep that promise. And when you keep that promise, you're going to see that you now have this enormous ability to actually believe in yourself, which is a critical thing in this world in which you live. You have to have this you have to have this ability to not only believe in yourself, but to trust what you say. So you keeping that promise about brushing your teeth on a daily basis for a 2-week period is as important as anything else you do. Number 2, when you begin to keep that promise, now you want to create multiple streams of promises. Multiple streams of promises have demands upon your time. They have demands upon your time in which you are forced to actually do what you say you're going to do if you're going to trust yourself moving forward and fulfilling your destiny. You see, you can't fulfill where you're going if you can't trust the promises you make about what you're going to do tomorrow. So you have to focus on this idea of multiple streams of promises. Maybe you have now 5 promises that you write down on an executive list in a notebook that says, these things I will do tomorrow. And so you come high water or anything else, you make sure that you get those things done to the best of your ability. And you check mark them off. And that will be your victory check mark every day. And that's what you want. You want victory in the little things, because in the little things, when you have victory, you then can trust yourself with moving toward larger things. Let me tell you number 3 in a step-by-step guide to becoming more trustworthy and keeping your promise. Number 3 would be recognizing the categorical differences between 2 kinds of promises. One is a functional promise, and the second one is an aspirational promise. A functional promise is something like paying your electric bill. If you don't pay your electric bill on time, you end up with late fees. You don't pay your car payment on time, you end up with late fees. Everyone wants to charge you late fees when you are not doing what you're supposed to and keeping your promises. So find a way to avoid having late fees charged to any of your accounts by paying everything early or on time. And so that's a functional promise. That makes you legitimately trustworthy. Number 1, to yourself, and 2, to others. And so you want to be believable. You want to create confidence that you're doing the right thing and living the right way. And so to do that simply means making sure that functionally all of the things that you're supposed to do, you actually do them. Number 2, or B, I should say, is the aspirational promise. Aspirational promises are like going to law school. If you say, I want to go to law school, there's a long road to run to get there. You have to first take an LSAT, and you have to study for the LSAT. You have to buy the courses, and you have to set aside the time for that. And you have to then take this thick book and actually break it down into smaller pieces. And it's a lot of solitude time and a lot of difficult time and understanding wordings and phrases, all to get 160 on an LSAT score so that you can go to the law school where now you can really begin doing the real work to become a lawyer. It's a lot of work. But the promises you have to make are many and varied, and they are daily, and they are relentless in actually fulfilling what you want to become, which is a lawyer. And so you have to learn first to start small with keeping promises to yourself, then create an expanded version of small promises to a multiple streams of promises, and then learn to be functional in your promises in your day-to-day life, whether it's paying rent or your car payment or putting money away in your individual retirement accounts. And then lastly, understand the difference in the types of promise categories, the functional and the aspirational promises. And from there, if you can do these and you can be a promise maker and a promise keeper, the world is yours. So thank you for joining me here today. I appreciate that. Catch us on the next video here at the Better Way Group. Have a great day.